What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to Horror Hangout. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate your time. We got a doozy of a video for you. This is the top 10 most important horror movies of all time. Not my favorite, just the most important. So, in the name of keeping the video at a reasonable length, I'm going to just tell you the number, what the movie is called, a little bit about it, and what makes me think it should be on the list. I'll try to keep them at a reasonable length. I don't want to go and make a 45-minute video here. So if you have other things that you want to talk about that movie, comments is where we'll be. I'll happily discuss things with everybody. There is almost no chance that we all agree wholly on this list. This is a subjective list. While it is subjective and it's my list, not yours, I did try to come at it from an objective point of view. So I did put movies in here that I don't really even like because I thought they deserved to be here. But please don't take it too personally if your movies didn't make it on the list. Just tell me what your list is in the comments. I'd love to discuss this with everybody. Last, certainly not least, I want to give an honorable mention to 3 movies that did not make the list, but that I thought earned the right to be mentioned at the very least in this video. One would be Evil Dead, the original Evil Dead. I just don't quite think it makes the top 10. Though I believe it is a very important horror movie. 2 is Dracula, the original Dracula, along with all the Universal monster movies, to be honest with you. I do think that they are close to top 10, but not quite top 10. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to go into too much detail. I just don't think they quite cut the mustard to get up in the top 10. And last but not least, the one that I think is going to probably upset the most people is Psycho is not on the list. So once I get to the end of my list, you will have figured out why I did not put Psycho on the list. But yeah, those 3 movies definitely needed to be mentioned a little bit. So let's jump into the list. Okay, number 10, I think is a movie that's going to be pretty divisive, I would think. Number 10 is 1998's Japanese horror movie, The Ring. It's about a couple that finds a videotape, and after you view it, 7 days later, you die. It's supernatural horror. It's J-horror, and it started an entire trend. It got an entire culture of people involved in horror. It spawned countless sequels and ripoffs and remakes. Got the U.S. versions. The Ring is amazing, and I thought it was a fantastic movie. But it affected the entire genre of horror in a way that not many movies made outside of America have done. Okay, so I remember when that movie came out, man. I was in high school. That was a big deal. I mean, we got The Ring, we got The Grudge, we got Pulse, we got The Eye. There's so many, and I like Asian film just in general. So it's a spooky movie, man. If you haven't seen The Ring, I'd highly suggest that you go check it out. The Japanese version, Ringu. Number 9 is Ridley Scott's Alien. All right, this one shouldn't need explaining, but it also spawned, as a matter of fact, all the movies on this list spawned a genre, more or less. But Alien is the sci-fi horror movie. It's got the best monster design. It's got the best acting. It put a woman at the front of it. It made a female badass and strong and tough, which up until that point wasn't a regular thing. Like now we have final girls in all kinds of movies that are like tough badass chicks. Back then, that wasn't the case. Sigourney Weaver really showed you what a woman was capable of in a movie as far as like the lead role in an action flick. She took the Schwarzenegger role. I mean, come on. That was a bold move for them to do that. And I think it just, I don't know, man. It's wonderful. And Alien has tons of sequels and a bunch of ripoffs. Alien was made in the 70s, dude. Like the 80s was full of movies that ripped off Alien, especially one like, was it Forbidden? Is it Forbidden World? Oh, that movie's so good. But, yeah, Alien is definitely one of the most important movies ever made in the horror genre. Sci-fi as well. I would think Alien probably goes in both categories, sci-fi and horror. Number 8 is a movie that I'm not a fan of, The Exorcist. Okay, I think that The Exorcist is very overrated. It is very, very boring, and it does not hold up at all. That being said, it did create and pave the way for tons of other movies that were possession movies, supernatural horror movies, the whole like Catholicism versus evil genre of film. And without The Exorcist, we wouldn't have many, many movies that I do like. I mean, A24 wouldn't exist the way that it does if it wasn't for The Exorcist. So my liking it has little to do with any of that. It's a very important movie, and it does have a very iconic character with an a couple of very iconic scenes. Everybody knows The Exorcist. I think the idea of The Exorcist is much scarier than the execution of the film. I don't want to keep harping on the movie because I don't have a lot of positive to say about it, so I'll just move on. Number 7 is Jaws. Dude, come on, man. The summer blockbuster being a horror movie was not a thing before Jaws. Still not really a big thing, but Jaws made the beach scary. It's, dude, I mean, what did Jaws? I mean, Carissa told me earlier it has one of the most iconic theme things. Dun, dun. I mean, come on. Everybody knows what Jaws is about. The part where the woman's just floating on the water and it's a long shot, and all of a sudden she's gone. That is terrifying, man. The Jaws is a great movie, and if you haven't seen it on the 4K yet, go check it out on 4K. It's absolutely stunning what that movie looks like in 4K. Number 6 is probably going to upset a few people, but it's okay. I don't mean to upset people, but I'm also not going to worry about upsetting anybody. It's 1999's The Blair Witch Project. The Blair Witch Project came out, and it took the world by storm. You had a fair amount of people believing that it was real. That's how effective this movie was. It was the first successful found footage movie of its kind. We had things like Cannibal Holocaust and movies like that already out, but they didn't compare to Blair Witch, not at all. Blair Witch eclipsed that stuff in a way that I can't really describe. Um, the the advertising campaign for that movie was so brilliant that it had people believing it was real. I mean, come on, the Blair Witch Project. When I say it spawned a genre, there is an entire, like, huge, very lucrative genre of film, found footage, that didn't exist before the Blair Witch Project, and and they made a movie for almost nothing that made hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Like it's important in a way that's hard to describe. The movie itself is pretty good. I liked it. It was pretty scary when it first came out. It's about a bunch of kids that go out and they go out into the woods and they're hunting this Blair Witch, and it gets them. You know, it's shaky cam found footage. Not much else to it. It's a very light on story, but heavy on execution. They did it really, really well. It's a believable movie. The Blair Witch Project is a fantastic film, and the last movie that scared me was Paranormal Activity, and I wouldn't have that movie if it wasn't for the Blair Witch Project. I don't know what else I need to say about it other than that. Number 5 is the oldest movie that holds up still, in my opinion. There are a lot of them still hold up okay, but this one's still scary. It's 1974's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's gritty, it's dirty, it's disgusting, and it's not nearly as violent as you think it is. But The Texas Chainsaw Massacre uh, is one of those movies that when you hear about it, you hear how bloody and violent it is, but when you watch it, it's really not. It's all the stuff that they make you think you saw that you didn't. I think that's called the Mandela effect. But everybody knows, though, the dance on the street with the chainsaw. But the Texas Chainsaw Massacre showed us what you can do with a cast of unknown actors and very little money. It's a legit legendary movie. Without that, we would have very few other movies that I love. I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is probably the reason we have stuff like Hatchet, even though Hatchet's a Friday the 13th ripoff. I don't think we'd have Friday the 13th if it wasn't for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about these movies other than they're fantastic. I mean, if you don't know why the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is on here, then I'm a little surprised you're watching this video. Number 4 is, this is when we get into the nitty gritty stuff. Number 4 is Scream. Wes Craven resurrected horror with Scream in 1996. And it started a whole genre of 90s teen horror stuff. I mean, it broke the fourth wall. It was a very, what's the word? It was like meta. It was like meta. It broke the fourth wall, and it did things, and it poked fun at horror, and it talked about horror in the movie in a way that no other movie had done before, except maybe New Nightmare, which was right before it. Same guy. Scream is responsible for reviving a dying genre. Horror would probably be all but gone if it wasn't for that movie. It came out in 1996, and it has one of the best openings in film history, as far as I'm concerned, where you have the leading lady, Drew Barrymore, get absolutely butchered in the first like 10 minutes of the movie, and nobody saw that coming. She was a huge star at the time of that movie coming out, and she was very much bigger than anybody else on that cast. So it was really interesting to see them do something so bold as to get her in the movie and kill her right away. But Scream resurrected horror and gave us, I don't know, man, a dozen or so other properties that have series of films. I mean, come on. Yeah, Scream is absolutely amazing. Number 3 is 1982 John Carpenter, The Thing. All right, this movie I didn't like when I first saw it. Took me a while to get into this one, but I love this movie. It's very important. I just watched it on the big screen for the first time a few weeks ago, and I'm telling you, it was kind of an emotional experience. But The Thing showed you what you can do with a slow burn. It showed you how to build tension, and it's responsible for people loving and appreciating practical effects. It's still, to this day, 40 years after it came out, I'd say still one of the best, if not the best, uses of practical effects I've ever seen in a movie. It's a top 5 minimum. But The Thing is an absolutely terrifying movie with a bleak ending, and it changed film, and it did things. And it was a bomb when it came out. It didn't do well at the box office. It took some time for this movie to pick up speed, but it's a classic at this point. I won't even call it cult classic. This is a classic film, man. The Thing is amazing. Number 2, it's Night of the Living Dead. How do you not have that movie on this list? I bet you guys are wondering what number 1 is, huh? Some of you guys probably know. So Night of the Living Dead came out. Now, I personally don't really care for this movie. I think it's pretty boring. But I own a copy of it, and I respect it just like I do with The Exorcist, because without Night of the Living Dead, there are literally dozens, if not hundreds, of movies that I love that I wouldn't have.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it. You're ignorant.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
It gave us zombies. Without this movie, we wouldn't have zombies like we have now. Walking Dead wouldn't exist. Shaun of the Dead wouldn't exist. Dawn of the Dead wouldn't exist. George A. Romero's career wouldn't exist. I mean, come on. Not Living Dead is a bona fide classic. It holds weight, man. It's still relevant today. The way that movie ends is just sad, and honestly, it's you can watch it right now and you go, oh, I get it. It holds as much weight now as it did when it came out, man. Night of the Living Dead is a very important film. Whether I like it or not, that's irrelevant. It's massively important film. Second most important horror film of all time, as far as I'm concerned. Number 1, the most important horror movie of all time, according to my list, is 1978. John Carpenter's Halloween. Dude, look, I don't even really like this movie, okay? But it gave us one of the most iconic characters of all time. The term slasher probably wouldn't exist. This is the movie that I thought was between this and Psycho for me. And I just think this is a more important movie than Psycho. It's got the knife has been cemented as the slasher weapon with this movie. In Psycho, you saw a knife for a little bit. In this movie, a knife is what he used, okay? The Shatner mask. You got Jamie Lee Curtis, who was all but unknown back then and who is the scream queen now, okay? And then you got probably the most well-known horror theme song of all time. There's a few that are pretty good, but the Halloween one, man, as much as I don't really care about the original movie, like, it's just kind of boring to me. But I get it. I understand it. I watch it all the time still. I'd watch it right now. Why not? I just don't love it. I think I'm just kind of a dick. I'm a Scrooge, man. But it just ain't really my favorite thing. But I do think it's the most important horror movie of all time. Let's go back down the list real quick one time to give you guys the list quickly. Number 10, The Ring, Ringu, Japanese. Number 9, Alien. Number 8, The Exorcist. Number 7, Jaws. Number 6, The Blair Witch Project. Number 5, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. Number 4, Scream. Number 3, The Thing from 1982. Number 2, Night of the Living Dead, the original. And number 1, Halloween from John Carpenter. That's my top 10 most important horror movies of all time. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the list. Let me know what yours says, because I'm sure it's different than mine. Yeah, man, this is all in good fun, and we all love horror movies. I love every movie on this list, even The Exorcist, because it's a horror movie. I may not watch it all the time, but I got respect for it. Okay, so just you know, go enjoy your horror movies, man. It's the fall, dude. Almost, anyways. October's in a few weeks, so Halloween's coming soon, folks. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate it. I got more videos coming for you with some top 10 on Tubi, top 10 on Shutter. I might do top 5 so I can just make shorter, quicker videos for you guys. But yeah, top 5 sounds pretty good. I got top 5 on Hulu coming again for Halloween. So yeah, just hang tight, and we got more stuff coming for you. If you like this content, please subscribe to the channel. Join the Horror Hangout crew, okay? If you want to support us any other way, there's information in the description for all that. If you got a recommendation for me, hit me up on Instagram, throw it in the comments, whatever, however you want to do it. But there's also a Facebook group, Horror Hangout Facebook group. There's a link in the description. Please come join that group if you have the time. All right, everybody, have a good day. Enjoy your afternoon. I hope you like the list. Peace.